everybody. Samuel is here with an early episode of Friendlies this week. We wanted to use Good Vibes this week to go over She Believes Cup as a tournament. So instead of dropping on Tuesday, as it usually does, Good Vibes is going to drop on Thursday. That means that today we are so lucky to have this Friendlies episode dropping. It's an interview with Michelle Alozie, Nigeria and Houston Dash attacker who doubles as a cancer researcher at Texas Children's Hospital. No big deal. We talk about her job as a cancer researcher, her incredible journey to the Nigerian national team. You're not going to believe what it took to get her there. And she told us all about that infamous red card moment from the World Cup last summer with Lauren James. You've definitely seen this photo. And now Michelle is going to tell us the story behind it. You are in a really good spot here with this episode. I'm so excited for you all to hear it. Before we get into that, we do have to acknowledge that we are in the middle of a She Believes Cup week. The U.S. Women's National Team plays again tomorrow night in the She Believes Cup final against Canada at 7 p.m. Eastern. There will be another Do It Live tomorrow night after that game, and we'll break down what we hope will be another U.S. Women's National Team win, another U.S. Women's National Team trophy, and a potential, listen to this, a potential 7 She Believes Cup championships for Emily Sonnet and Alyssa Nair. Talk about elite. I wanted to answer a really quick question from T.S. Brady on our Instagram. T.S. Brady asked, Sam, will you tell us how U.S. Women's National Team jersey numbers are selected and on what time frame? It appears to be by seniority. Is it caps? How many weeks, days before a match is it done? Such a great question, T.S. Brady. Basically, number selection is done based on caps. So when I joined the team, I shuffled through a few different numbers during my first few camps based on like what numbers were available for any given game. I remember I wore 12 and then I think I wore like 22. I think I wore 29 for like kind of an absurdly long time. And then eventually number 3 opened up and I just got like slotted in there. And I liked 3. I never asked to change. But if somebody does have a strong preference, they can change numbers as long as they have more caps than the other person who's been wearing that number. Honestly, sometimes it happens early on in your career with no influence from you and you just stick with the number you got given as it becomes established that it's your number. But sometimes players make a change when they can as their coveted number becomes available. I'm so glad you asked that. Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people were interested in that, especially with the Alex Morgan wearing number 7 at the Gold Cup. Now she's back to 13, so I'm glad that we could clear that up. Okay, everybody, without further ado, I am really, really excited for you all to hear this interview with Michelle Alozie. Enjoy. I couldn't be more excited to welcome Michelle Alozie to the show today. Michelle has had one of the most interesting careers of any player that I know. She was born in Apple Valley, California, but ended up playing her college soccer in New Haven, Connecticut. Shout out to Sally's Pizza for Yale before transferring to the University of Tennessee to play for the Volunteers. Michelle got a degree in molecular biology, and now in addition to her professional soccer career, she works part-time as a cancer research technician at the Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. Yes, you heard that right. Full-time footballer, part-time scientist. Michelle has been with the Houston Dash of the NWSL since trying out for the team in 2021 and making the roster. Born to Nigerian parents, Michelle proudly represents Nigeria in her international career, and in 2023 was named to the CAF Women's Africa Best 11 as one of the world's best African players after an incredibly memorable World Cup run that saw her play every single minute of Nigeria's campaign. Michelle Alozie, welcome to the women's game. I'm so happy that we found this time to chat.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I was like, ooh, that was a good little intro.
I know, you're doing so much amazing stuff.
Thank you.
So like we mentioned in the intro, you have a degree in molecular biology and you work part-time at Texas Children's Hospital as a cancer research technician. I know that it's hard being a professional footballer, playing for both club and country, and that it requires so much dedication and sacrifice. And then I imagine that it's also incredibly hard to work in the medical field as a cancer researcher, but to do both is so mind-boggling. How are you balancing both of these careers at once?
Obviously, as a student athlete in college, like we're kind of just like I'm used to just always having something to do. Like obviously I wasn't at the team at the time on Houston, but when I was just trying out for Houston and just being a practice player, I just felt like I had so much dead time. And I was like, okay, what do I like? I need to do something with this time because I kind of just feel like I'm wasting away. Like I'm at training for a few hours and then rehab and stuff like that for a few hours, but there's still so much of the day to do stuff. And obviously, I'm like hoping to go into the medical field once my soccer career is over. So I was like, let me just make my resume a little like real nice, you know?
Oh my God.
And so that's why I looked out to becoming a research technician.
That is so smart. What does your day look like at the hospital? Like, what does a cancer research technician do?
It definitely, since I'm part-time, it definitely changes time, like day in and day out. Usually, since I'm part-time, I kind of just go in and help my other research technicians with whatever projects they're doing. So it's like just running a lot of experiments or like checking in on patient samples that we get from the hospital. So it just really changes every day, but usually it's like experiment based or a lot of organizational work.
Do you feel like when you're there, when you go to the hospital from soccer, do you feel like you're using the same part of your brain, or do they like totally, does it allow you to utilize like a totally different part of your mind?
I completely separate the two, like 100%. Like I think my brain works the best that way. So I have like different compartments in my head for different situations. So literally like on my way, I'm like driving to work from training. Soccer is gone. Like that is a whole different subject. And then it's like straight just research brain working in autopilot.
I honestly feel like having something else to focus on outside of soccer helps you with soccer because you don't just go home and like mull over how training went all night. You go and you get confidence doing something else and you focus on something else. Do you feel that way, that actually having this kind of secondary thing to put your focus and energy into then brings you back to soccer with like a refresh?
Oh, absolutely. I think that having a different hobby that's like just completely out of the realm of athletics definitely helps me like mentally. And I think since I'm working with children, like it is pediatric cancer, and being able to like talk to them and hear their stories, like it kind of just puts my life in a different perspective. And I know that if I'm having one bad training session, like it literally is not the end of the world. Like I have another day to do it. Like there's people going through such huge milestones and trials and tribulations, and I can't even compare like me missing a few shots at training to. And so it definitely like allows my mind to like reset, like look at the bigger picture like of life, of like my purpose, and helps me kind of just like hone in on those things.
Oh, that is like, that's so amazing and like would allow for so much perspective. Do you have some, besides that, I guess, or maybe you could touch more on that, like the most rewarding part about working in the medical field? Is there
Mhm.
a story of somebody that you helped or something you could tell us that really reminds you that doing this work is so worth it and so important?
Yeah, honestly, it's really sad that I think it was 2 years ago, I was able to meet one of my boss's patients, Dr. Stevens' patients, and she was talking to me, and she was just a huge Dash fan, and her family was able to go to Dash games before she got diagnosed with AML cancer. And so like her big like goal was just like to meet me and for me to like sign an autograph for her, sign a jersey for her. And I wanted to do that for her. I unfortunately like was out of town, and by the time I was able to come into the hospital, she unfortunately passed away.
Oh,
And like, oh, that literally like broke my heart, just thinking like this one small token I could have done for her could have like, like made the little time that she had left on this world up. And so like whenever I'm like thinking of like what I'm doing in the hospital, it's just like I'm doing like maybe like 1% or 2% of something that can help and change someone's life, whether that be an interaction I'm having or an assay that I'm running. And so it just like I'm like just doing something for someone at all times. Like that's kind of what I think my purpose in life is, to help change someone's life in any way, no matter what type of interaction or lack thereof that I have with them. So that's kind of like what drives me really in the medical field.
oh, wow. What a touching and sad story, but what an incredible response. And I feel like that must just give you such a deep sense of purpose. That's like,
Oh,
that's
definitely.
so,
Yeah.
so, so wonderful that you are filling your spare time with helping these people. And obviously, that's contributing to your career in the future. Hopefully, it's far away, but whenever you
Hmm.
are done with soccer, I feel like the reality for a lot of female soccer players up until really recently is that they may have had to have a second job while playing, or at the very least be preparing themselves for that step for when soccer's over.
Yeah.
I've heard, I mean, I did that. I started a podcast when I was still playing. I've heard that even Leah Williamson, the England captain, was studying to be an accountant at one point. Has this been part of your thinking at all? This idea that it's really important for you to develop these skills and experience outside of soccer, or are you just equally passionate about both things and want to do them both right now?
I'm definitely just passionate about both things. I think since I was just trying out for Houston, like I knew I like didn't really have a plan A, which was my soccer plan. And so I really was just like, if this doesn't work out, like I wasn't really sure like how to get my toe into
Yeah.
NWSL soccer since I wasn't drafted. I didn't really have like the greatest senior year. So I was just like, I don't really know like how to even like get into this realm of NWSL soccer. So being able to like finally get onto the roster, like literally dropped in so much weight off my chest, but that also allowed me in that second to really decide like if I still wanted to do the research job or not. And obviously once I was like kind of it was a few months in, I think I didn't get on the full roster for Houston until like August, I believe. That was like when I finally got my final official contract and I wasn't a replacement player anymore. I was like, yes, finally. But it was like then after working there in Texas Children's for a few months that I realized like, no, this is something I'm definitely passionate about. And thankfully, Dr. Stevens is so understanding of my limited hours that I have, or like ever changing hours that soccer provides, so willing to be able to work around them. So I feel like it's just like a perfect situation for me right now
Wow.
to be able to do both.
Wow. Well, I actually want to just dive more into this side of your career, the soccer side. I know that after college, you entered the NWSL draft in 2019. Like you said, you weren't picked up right away. So you ended up going to play with Bike Kazigurt in Kazakhstan to
Hmm.
train with the team before COVID ended that season. You moved back to California. I've interviewed a lot of players recently, Michelle, and I've not spoken at all about the game in Kazakhstan yet. I'm so amazed by your willingness to go to any length to pursue your soccer career all the way to Kazakhstan. So, can you just tell us a little bit? You didn't get drafted, and then what? How did you wind up in Kazakhstan from there? What was your thought process?
I was at Tennessee. I was doing my fifth year at Tennessee, and when I didn't get drafted, my coaches there, Pensky and John Morgan, were kind of like, Michelle, it's not the end of the world. Like, we have a few connections with different teams, and we can try these connections if you want to. And I was like, yes, please. Like, I just want to be a professional soccer player. Like, get me anywhere. They had two teams kind of lined up. One was in Israel, one was in Kazakhstan. And I was talking to a few girls from both of the teams, and really at the end of the day, the Kazakhstan team just had more Americans there. So I was like, okay, that would just feel a little bit more comfortable for me, I thought. And that was like the whole reason I ended up going there. So I was there for maybe, I don't even like 4 weeks, I think, before COVID just shut
Oh,
down the world. And
oh
so I came
no.
back so quickly. Yeah. And so, but I was really welcome there. The Americans there were like amazing. I love them. The Kazakhstan girls were also amazing. We weren't even in Kazakhstan. We were in Turkey doing a camp. So I didn't even touch down in Kazakhstan until I think September of 2020, kind of like when the rules
Yeah.
like slowed down a little bit and opened up the world a little bit. And so, yeah, it was definitely like a culture shock, I would say. But I think there showed me like how much like if I really want something, how much work I'm gonna have to put in to like be my best. Like if no one's watching or if you're not like having the best setup, like what you have to do for yourself and make sure that you're like at the top of your game
Mm.
regardless. I think that really like it really grew me up going out there, I would say.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I remember a lot of times in my NWSL off seasons feeling like for 4 or 5 months, I was just on my own training and having to find a
Yeah.
field and having to find
Hmm.
balls and having to find a goal. So in a
Hmm.
way, I mean, learning that right out of college is actually really important. How was the level of soccer? Was it similar to your college experience? Were you like blowing by people? Do you think it set you up for the NWSL? What was the actual soccer like?
Quicker than college soccer, but not nearly as crazy as it is in the
Yeah.
NWSL. There's definitely like older players there, and it was obviously like Eastern Europe, so it was kind of like a slower pace, kind of like really just playing a ball, like passing it around. But like physically, I definitely like dominated there, and so it was like really easy, like in that standpoint, just because I was like athletic. But yeah, they definitely cared about the ball more. They were way more technical. So that was amazing too, because then it made me more technical. Because I didn't want to just look like, oh, all she can do is like run really fast.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, let me let me do some touches on the wall real quick. So that was good. But yeah, it was really cool experience. Like unfortunately, I left before they always go to Champions League, and so that
Mhm.
was also a big reason why I joined that team because they're always the Kazakhstan champions. And so unfortunately I missed that window, but it opened up other doors for me. So I'm glad with that decision.
Well, that is honestly such a cool experience to say that you've gone and played in Kazakhstan. But like
Yeah.
you just said, after your stint overseas, you went and tried out for the Houston Dash in 2021, and you've been with the Dash ever
Mhm.
since. We recently spoke to Bethany Balser about her success in the NWSL despite not being drafted, similar to you. And I can't believe
Mhm.
players such as yourself and Bethany get overlooked in the draft. When you mentioned a little bit that your college coaches like reaffirmed to you that it's not the end of the world, but what were your emotions like to not get drafted? Was it devastating?
Oh, I was so sad, but at the same time, I'm like a realist, and I was coming back from an ACL injury, so my year at Tennessee was the first one back from ACL, and knowing like the type of soccer that I was playing that year, like I wasn't like surprised that I didn't get drafted, if that makes sense, but it still like hurt. Like I was hoping that someone may have just like looked at like my Yale film maybe
Hmm.
to see like what type of player I am, like at 100%, but at the same time like Ivy League at that time wasn't really like looked at. And so I like knew that really like my opportunity, I felt like at Tennessee I kind of like just didn't fully take it, like my body wasn't ready, and so I wasn't performing to like what I know my full potential was. When that time did come around, like yes I was sad, but at the same time I was like I wasn't playing the best soccer at the same time, if that makes sense.
But you responded in a way that was like, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to go play overseas. I just want to be a pro. And do
Hmm.
you think that, like, is there anything that you would share, let's say another player who didn't get drafted but feels that same way? Do you have any kind of message for them?
Oh yeah, like everyone's path is just so different, and obviously like if you are drafted it's amazing and it's such a great experience, and I'm like so happy for my friends who are able to get drafted, and it's like amazing. Like obviously like everyone's dream is to get drafted regardless of what sport they're playing, but at the same time like I and others have are literally true testaments that you do not have to get drafted. Like as long as you really believe in yourself and know like your worth and your value, like maybe it's going overseas for a second, then coming
Hmm.
back to NWSL. Maybe it's not coming to the NWSL at all and taking your talents elsewhere. So it's just like knowing and truly like believing in yourself. Like, because if you believe in yourself and you're able to like show that belief in other people, then I think other teams, other coaches will then be able to believe in you as well.
Well, you're bringing so much to the Dash, which is very exciting for Houston. Last season, unfortunately, you guys came in a disappointing 10th, but you have a lot of potential. Some really
Yeah.
talented players: Maria Sanchez, Diana Ordonez of Mexico, Jane Campbell, who's in with the U.S. women's national team right now. And you acquired Cece Kaiser from Kansas City, who's a really talented forward, has had great success in the league. To an outsider
Yeah.
who maybe doesn't know very much about the Dash yet, what do you think it is that makes your team special and fun to watch?
I think like I feel like Houston is just known for being gritty. Like we are like kind of like a little dirty team. Like coming here in Houston in the middle of the summer is like horrible, and we're just like
Ugh.
running and like just trying to like go 1,000 miles per hour at all times. Like we're keeping the game fast paced in this crazy Houston weather. And so I think that it really shows like when you're watching us, like we're just like kind of like never say die, and we're just like going 100 miles per hour like at all times, even here in Houston.
Do you guys talk about that, like capitalizing on other teams not being ready for the heat?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. Like it's funny though because like obviously like we all know it's hot, and obviously we do have an advantage because at least we train it a little
Uh
bit.
huh.
But it's funny because like in games like, oh, I am like dying at the 10th minute like with everyone else, but it's like, oh, I can't show you guys that
No.
I'm dying. Like I need you guys to be like, wow, how are they still running?
Yeah.
Like so we
Get in
do
their
that all the
heads.
time. We're like, oh, keep the ball going. Yeah, like we have to keep it going and make sure that like they don't think that we're dying, even though we're definitely like waiting for that water break.
Yeah, Houston is one of the worst
Yeah.
spots to play. When it is hot, it is hot.
Yeah, it slaps you in the face.
Oh, well, I know that early on in your Dash career in 2021, it was actually Twila Kilgore who helped bring you to Houston. And we're obviously very fascinated with Twila as she's currently interim head coach of the U.S. women's national team. What has your experience with Twila been like? And can you tell us a little bit about what she's like as a person and a coach?
Yeah, oh, I love Twila. She actually, so like, she scouted me initially when I was in high school to play at Pepperdine,
Yep.
which is so funny. And what we talked about when I came to Houston. So when I saw that she was obviously the assistant coach at Houston, I immediately sent her the email and I was like, "Hey, Twyla, like, I don't know if you remember me, but like, I'm Michelle Ozier. Like, I came from Apple Valley. Like, you scouted me to come to Pepperdine. Like, I ended up going to Yale, blah, blah, blah. Like, just this super long email. And the first day I saw her, she was like, "Of course I remember you. Like, I tried so hard to bring you to Pepperdine. Like, I'm so glad to see like you did well in college, blah, blah, blah." So I was just like so shook that she like one even remembered me because that was like what, like 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
I was like, the fact that she even remembered me was like amazing. She asked about my sister who played soccer too. I was like, wait, what is going on? I was like, how do you actually remember this? So I think Twyla is so amazing. Her, what was she, like a year and a half in, being with her at Houston was so nice. Like she's just a very personable coach and she really like cares about like the player as a person before a player. And I think that's so amazing. And I feel like kind of rare to find in coaches. Like, obviously, coaches want you to perform at the highest level all the time. But obviously, if you as a person aren't there totally, it's hard for you to perform altogether. So I think she was very adamant and very like just persistent to like make sure that like you're good, you know your value, that you're like okay and where you are. And I feel like that brought me a lot of peace in my first rookie season with Houston.
Oh, that's amazing. I think
Yeah.
having those connections across the years, like she recruited you to come to Pepperdine and then that relationship came and resurfaced and was helpful to you. I
Hmm.
think that's amazing and speaks so highly of both of you that that personal connection remained and that she remembered about your
Yeah.
sister. So that
Hmm.
gives me a good feeling about Twyla. So I'm really happy to hear that. I want to ask you some questions about your time with the Nigerian national team, who
Hmm.
amazed us all at the World Cup last summer, going absolutely toe to toe with England in the round of 16 and really, really testing them, who were eventual finalists. But before we get
Hmm.
to that specifically, I want to go back a little bit further. I know you grew up in California and your parents are Nigerian. So, how did you come to connect with the Nigerian national team? And did you grow up knowing that you wanted to play for Nigeria?
Yeah, so I definitely always knew I wanted to play with Nigeria. However, I just didn't know how to do it. So I like got called up to a few like youth national teams or national camps for the US. So I was thinking that that was kind of similar to what it would be with Nigeria. Like, absolutely not. It's not like that at all. But so I like just didn't really know like, okay, how do I get in contact with a Nigerian coach? Like, who like, or like where do I like show my talents? Like I don't
Yeah.
understand like how to like just be in the forefront for them. And honestly, I always say it's a fluke, but maybe it was just like God setting a plan for me that, they came for the US She Believes Cup and they had so many visa issues that they almost had to like withdrew from the camp or from the cup because they didn't have enough players. And so literally the coach then, Randy Waldrum, he reached out, I'm not even joking, to like maybe every Nigerian American that was playing soccer in the US just so that we can fill the roster. And I was thankfully one of them. Obviously, She Believes was in Houston. And so I reached out to him right away. He used to be the old Houston Dash head coach.
Yep.
So I told my head coach at the time to hit up him and to be like, hey, she's Nigerian American, like come to a training session. They came to one training session and they're like, okay, like see you at training tomorrow. And then I showed up, trained with him for one day, and he was like, amazing, you'll make the roster for tomorrow's game. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess I'm here. I guess I'm playing now.
Oh my
And ever since then,
gosh.
I've been with the national team. Yeah, so it's like so random. Like, it's not at all like what people usually do, like going through like the youth system or I don't even know, like getting recruited. Like, he had no idea who I was. And I just like happened to be in Houston, happened to be Nigerian American. Like, it was like perfect, perfect scenario.
That is so amazing. When you heard that they came to your
Yeah.
training session and that you were going to make the roster for the next day, how did that make you feel? You just made the Nigerian women's national team. Like what was that moment like?
I think I was honestly genuinely like confused because I just kept thinking like 2 days ago, I was a trialist for Houston Dash. Like, don't even have a professional contract yet, fighting for a spot on a professional team. And now I am dressed in Nigerian Football Federation wear. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this isn't my life right now. I was like so confused. I haven't even stepped onto Shell Energy Stadium, and now I'm stepping on the stadium with the Nigerian team. I was just like, what is, like playing alongside like Aziza Oshawala and Chimaka and Nadozie, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is my life right now? Like, I think I was genuinely just so in shock that like my life just like completely changed in 2 days.
And did that feeling like carry on? Like, was your life different from that point out?
Oh, definitely. I would definitely say so. Like, I think obviously it's just like such a blessing, and it's like hard to like put into words, like being able to, represent like my culture, and for it to come this way is crazy. I think a few years ago actually, we had like a time capsule at Yale, and one of my goals on there was like, Michelle, like if you are not on the Nigerian national team in 5 years, like you didn't do something right or something like that. And literally 5 years to that date, I was playing like in
I
Houston
like have
with
chills.
Nigeria.
This
It was
is
just like,
so
what?
cool.
Yeah. It was so confusing, but it's like also beautiful. Like, I'm glad that, I saw the value. I knew what I wanted in college, and in high school, and to just continue to fight for it, even though there's these barriers. Like, I'm not getting drafted, I'm not on a professional team, I can't get in contact with a Nigerian team. And but all like eventually like all of these things came true. It was kind of like, whoa, never give up, Meech, never give up.
Oh my gosh. You mentioned the honor that you feel getting to represent your Nigerian culture. Can you talk a little bit more about
Mhm.
what that means to you to get to represent Nigeria, and as someone who grew up in America, how you connect with
Mhm.
the culture of the team, and just tell us a little bit more about that.
Initially, when I joined the team, I think it was definitely a little bit hard. Like, obviously, I am Nigerian, so being in America, it was a little bit difficult to, you know, understand like my two cultures, if that makes sense. So when I was younger, like I wanted so badly just to be like African American. Like, I just wanted to like be black. Like, I don't want anything else to like set me like apart from other people. Like, I just wanted to like be like my peers, and like that's it. Like, I didn't want my parents to have a really strong accent. I didn't want to like smell like our Nigerian cuisine, because that just like makes me different. And then it wasn't until like high school where I was like, but my Nigerian culture is like amazing. I like love my parents so much, and I love like what they had to do and all the issues that they had to do just to come to America, just for us to have a better life. And so I'm like, this is something I should be 100% proud of, and I shouldn't try to, shell away or like put in on my back burner or anything like that. So, once I have finally like became, like my own individual, and like knew who I was as a person, and who I am, and how my cultures, both of them, kind of like make me who I am, is when I finally like felt at peace. And so I was like, I need to play on the Nigerian team. Like, I knew I was a good soccer player. I watched them in the World Cup, and I was like, oh, like they're killing it. I was like, oh, what if I could be on this team and like wear Alozie on the back of my jersey? And like my parents kept telling me to do it. Like I was the only one who went and played collegiate soccer of my family, and they're like, Michelle, you like have to go all the way. And so for me to be able to, have my name on, or have our name, my family name on the back of my jersey, have like my family in Nigeria like root me on,
Oh,
and like the villages will worry and everything like that. It's like it just like makes me so happy, and I feel like I'm living like so many lives of like all of my like aunts and my uncles. Like, I'm like living their like best youth life for them, if that makes sense. And so like I love that I'm able to like have that ability to do that for them.
oh my gosh, Michelle, that is honestly one of the coolest and most amazing ways of explaining what it means to your family to have you represent the Nigerian national team. Was there a moment where you found out that you made the World Cup team for 2023,
Mhm.
where you maybe called your parents or you called family in Nigeria? Was that like, how much does that mean to them?
So, like obviously we had a few camps leading up to the World Cup, and I kept getting called up to them. So I was like, okay, like, I think I
Yeah.
think I'm on the roster. Like, so I like my parents kept asking me like, are you on the roster? Because they obviously would want to come and like book a ticket. And I was like, okay, they haven't announced it yet, but like I played like this camp, like I played the both games, so like I think I'm good. Like if you guys want to come, like I was like, you guys could like buy the ticket, but just like get insurance on it just in case. But obviously the roster came out and they're like so excited for me and they're able to come out to Australia, which was amazing as
Oh,
well.
that is so cool. I know. I know the feeling of like I think I'm gonna make it, but like you never really know until you know. So
You
my
never
parents
know.
always are
Yeah.
booking stuff at the last minute because you don't want to like
Hmm.
jinx it, and it's a very stressful time right before the
Exactly.
roster comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Hmm.
you make the World Cup roster and your team does amazing. You make it to the round of 16 and ended up losing to England on penalties after a 0-0 draw. You played every single
Hmm.
minute of the tournament for Nigeria. What do you remember about the tournament as a whole? Obviously, your family was there, but what was that atmosphere like for you at your first major world tournament?
I mean, it was insane. Like to think about the crowd, I know that it was like one of the largest viewership that Women's World Cup has gotten, but to just see the crowds that was at every single game. Obviously, we had Australia in our group, so like that game was like insane and completely sold out. But even the Canada game and the Ireland game, like there's just so many people around. I'm walking around and everyone like knows who I am or like wants to take photos and like just seeing that type of like culture surrounded around football, especially women's football, was like so crazy to like really like understand, like because I'm not used to it, especially like just being here in Houston or just being in the States where like football like really isn't like the main sport
Mm-hmm.
here. So to be able to like have a tournament like that where like most of the seats are all occupied and like people around are just all watching the game, it was just like whoa, like this is crazy. Like I used to watch this on TV and now I'm here and now I'm on the big stage like playing against these like crazy names. I'm like, what is going on? Like this isn't my life. Like I think that was kind of what was going through my head the whole entire time.
Yeah, so I mean, so there's this like kind of disbelief, and I think especially for
Yeah.
you personally, after all that you've been through, finding a team in Kazakhstan after not getting drafted, making the Dash roster,
Mm.
finding your way onto the Nigerian national team, and then balancing soccer and medical research. And now you're here, you're playing in a World Cup, and you're having like a huge impact for your team. How did you approach the games and say, I'm not just here, I'm gonna make a stamp on this and prove that I really belong here?
Since I was in such shock and disbelief, I think it almost like relaxed me a bit to say like, like screw it. Like I'm here. Somehow, I don't know how, but I'm here right now. So like all I can do is like play soccer. And like yes, like I'm playing against like Kadisha Buchanan and Sam Kerr, like, and Rachel Date, like, okay, I understand that. But like at the same time, like I am also a soccer player. Like we're all just kicking the soccer ball around at the end of the day. Like they just do it on a bigger scale than I do. But you know what? Like we're just doing it. We're both doing it right now. So all I have to do is like kick the ball around, connect the ball, please. Like connect the ball. But yeah, all I have to do is just like play my game and just like be relaxed. Like if I'm super nervous, just do the simple stuff, and then allow that to build my confidence. And I think obviously with the Canada game being our first game, I think that game allowed me to build my confidence and kind of, just go with the flow and like show like my creative side a little bit. And yeah, I think that's kind of how that ended up going.
Okay, well, I have to ask you about your role in one of the most famous images from the 2023 Women's World Cup. During your round of 16 game against England, there's a photo of England's Lauren James stepping off your back while you were laying on the
Mhm.
ground, and you just kind of had your hands up with this like look of disbelief. WTF is going on? Look on your face. And Lauren James was sent off
Yeah.
with a red card. Can you walk us through that moment at all? Like, what were you feeling in the moment of the picture?
Yeah. I love this question. I think it's so funny. Well, because truly so many people are like, Michelle, why didn't you react? And I think like just at the time I was like, there's VAR. Like, so I was kind of like chilling there, right? I think there was like two emotions. There was one where she like pushed off
Uh
me
huh.
and I was kind of like, okay, like this is annoying. You didn't need to do that. So I was just kind of waiting for that to be done. But then when she stepped on me, I was like, what? I was like literally like so confused because I was like, there's VAR. That was all that was going in my head. I was like, there's VAR. Like you're done. Like I knew at that moment, I was like, you're getting a red card. You just stepped on me for no reason. And so I think that's why I was just like, like what just happened? Like, why are you doing this? Like, that was like, I was just like confused for so many reasons, but I was like, yeah, you're getting a red card. Like, that's why I didn't react, because I was like, there's no need to react. I
Yeah.
had a yellow card. So I was like, I can't get another yellow card,
Mm-mm.
because if we go on, then I can't play the next game. So I was like, whatever, like that just happened, but you're gonna get a red card. Like,
Oh my
so I was
gosh.
just like at peace almost. Like, I was like, oh, VAR, got you. Like,
VAR
that's
has my
tragic.
back.
Yeah.
I know that you
Yeah,
guys,
for once.
yeah, I know you guys kind of maybe had a little social media exchange after. Have you spoken with Lauren James since this incident?
No, no, I haven't. Just a little tweet, and that
Yeah.
was about
Yeah.
it.
Okay. I know that there have been some issues between your Nigerian team and your federation over lack of payment and conditions surrounding the program. And I totally understand the sensitivity of the situation. So I actually just wanted to share that as a player who has been in conflict with my federation before. I fully support your team as you navigate this and advocate for yourselves. And I know that players all around the world support you guys as well. And it's something that all female footballers are confronting right now, this duality of our role to both play at the highest level and then also make the game better for everybody that's going to come after us. So, is there anything that you
Mhm.
can share about how you approach that responsibility, fighting for more off the field in addition to fighting on the field?
Again, like doing things for a larger purpose is so important. I think, the ones ahead of me who were on the Nigerian team my first year in 2021 who aren't on the team anymore because they advocated, just show like how powerful it is and how important it is to change what we're doing now so that the U18s, the U20s have a better experience when they are on the full roster. And so just seeing that and being able to one work alongside the U18s or to show them that like, this type of like treatment isn't the normal, and this is how you should, it's obviously such an amazing opportunity to play for Nigeria, to play for your country, and to play for the federation, but it's like limits to it. And so to be able to, kind of be the forefront for that for all of the Nigerian Federation, being the U18s, U21s, and the full team is so important and so paramount, especially as we see these different federations like Jamaica coming out and speaking about kind of these injustices. So, hopefully we're able to one spread more light on it, but obviously the most important thing is to change it so that in future years, the NFF and the Nigerian Super Falcons is a place where all Nigerian Americans, Nigerians like want to play soccer.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think
Mm.
you have our support. I know that there are lots of organizations who would be honored to lend their support to you guys in any way, including the U.S. women's national team. So looking ahead for Nigeria, I know that your team has a chance to qualify for the Olympics in the qualifiers in April.
Mm.
What do you think it is about your Nigerian team that makes you guys so difficult to beat, despite this kind of turmoil within your federation and a historic lack of resources? You guys are so hard to play against. What's your kind of
Mm.
special quality that you have?
We will die in front of the net. And I think, like, after talking to some of my friends on Canada and on Ireland too, they're like, Michelle, you guys defend the box like your whole entire life depends on it? And so, like, people, like, you can see, like, Christy Uchibe, like, throwing her body in front of the box. Like, you see people making these crazy diving headers, like, doing these, like, 1 millisecond tackles that like could be a PK, but they're just like trusting that they'll get there. Like, I think it's just like they're like Nigerians are so prideful. And so I think we take that with us in every aspect. And so it's like you guys like you might keep the ball for like 90% like amazing, but like you will not score on us. Like I think like that kind of mentality, like we're so prideful and like keeping a clean sheet, I think that makes it really difficult to play against us.
That is the foundation of everything, I think. If you can't score on us, you're not beating us. That's
Right?
amazing. That is amazing. Okay, we are gonna let you go, but I just have a few more fun little quick questions for you.
Okay. Hmm.
You are doing so much. What do you do for fun? Like, how do you relax?
Oh, what I do for fun, I like love shopping. Like I'm a fashion girl like through and through. I love clothes. I love finding vintage pieces. Like I'm
Ooh.
all around Houston doing like estate sales or thrift shops. Like I am shopping till I drop for my fun time for sure.
Oh, love that. Do you
Yeah.
cook? Or are you more like takeout?
Definitely a takeout girl. Like
Okay.
I've lived here. I just moved. I lived here for maybe 3 months, and I don't even know if my stove works. So yeah, definitely a takeout
Oh my
shorty.
God. Okay, what's your go-to takeout spot in Houston?
Ooh, it's definitely Thai bistro or pho ben. Like I just love noodles, so either Thai food or Vietnamese food like hits every time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wow. Have you spent a lot of time in Nigeria, either like growing up as a kid or more recently since you've been on the Nigerian national team?
Yeah, no, I only went to Nigeria one time before I joined the Nigerian national team, and now obviously I go like every international window. But it's never really for vacation, it's just for camp. So I'm trying to like every December, like in our off season, actually go there just for vacation and just to like see family and stuff. So yes, definitely on my bucket list to go to Nigeria for vacation every year.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. What's something you can tell us about your time in Nigeria that, like, maybe your favorite thing to eat, your favorite thing to do? What's Nigeria like?
Ooh, I think a lot of people, don't think that Nigeria is as established as it really is. And so, Victoria Island of Nigeria in Lagos is so beautiful, and it's literally just like on a strip of water, all beaches, like amazing buildings, amazing eateries, like it's so beautiful, amazing museums. And I didn't know like Nigerian artists are so amazing. So I think that's probably my favorite thing is to go to like the museum district there and kind of look at different art pieces and sculptures and stuff like that.
Oh wow. I like want to
Yeah.
join you on your vacation in December. That sounds so beautiful and amazing. Um,
Yeah.
who's your best friend on the national team and who's your best friend on Houston?
Ooh, I'd say my best friend on Houston. Well, Jane will kill me if I don't say Jane, so I'll say Jane. I'll also tie that with Dee and Maria. And then on the national team would probably be Esther Nkoronkwo. She was actually a Houston Dash trialist with me at the same time
Oh
when we
wow.
both got called up to the Nigerian team together. So
Oh,
definitely her.
so cool. And then last question, what are
Yeah.
your goals for 2024?
Ooh, okay. Well, for the national team, it'll definitely be to make the Olympic roster and to make it to the Olympics. Nigeria hasn't made it to the Olympics since 2008. So that would be a huge milestone for us. And then for Houston, um, man, it'll have to be to like get a trophy. We haven't gotten a trophy since the 2020
Challenge Cup?
Challenge Cup, and people don't even count that trophy. So
Hey, a
it's like we
trophy's a
need to get a
trophy.
good trophy. Yeah.
What about personally? Do you have any like personal goals?
I always say like I always want to beat the whatever goals that I had the year prior. So definitely getting more. I think I only had four last year or five. So definitely getting more than that. But definitely being like one or two goal scorer on the team would be a good personal goal for me.
Well, we're going to be rooting for you. I feel like we're friends now, which makes me so happy. It has been such an honor to have you on here, not just because you're a great footballer, but also because of what you're committed to doing off the field. I think that it's so admirable the way that you're able to commit yourself to multiple fields that you think are important and that you're passionate about. And you're a testament to the idea that we are all capable of a lot more than we think. I'm so happy that we got a chance to speak and so grateful to you for coming on the show. And we will be cheering you on with Houston and with Nigeria. Thank you, Michelle.
I appreciate you so much, Sam. This was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Honestly, I feel like that was one of the best interviews we have dropped so far for the women's game. Michelle is just such an incredibly talented and well rounded person and player. I'm so honored that we could have her here on the show, and I hope that you all enjoyed hearing from her. Her Nigerian national team is actually playing to qualify for the Olympics this week, tomorrow on Tuesday against South Africa. Nigeria is up 1-0 on aggregate, and they just need to hang on to that lead for a place at the Olympics in Paris this summer. Thank you all so much for listening. We will be cheering on Michelle and her Nigerian national team in tomorrow's game. Okay, weird week this week, as like I said in the intro, we moved Good Vibes to Thursday so that we could completely review the She Believes Cup. I will be recording Good Vibes with Becky Sauerbrunn to be dropped on Thursday. So come back right here to the Women's Game podcast feed to hear that episode. I am so excited to see how the US do against Canada and to hear Becky's take on everything that's happened at the She Believes Cup so far. In the meantime, send us your questions. I'm going to give you guys a little hint. I'm a sucker for the fun questions. Ask us something weird and quirky. Email us at womensgamemib@meninblazers.com, and I will read a quirky question out loud on Thursday's episode of Good Vibes. Let's really use this as an opportunity to get to know Becky a little bit better, folks. I'm trusting you here. Send us your best questions. Make sure you're following along with us across all of our socials at Women's Game MIB on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Women's Game MIB, and also subscribe to our newsletter, Women's Soccer News, delivered straight to your inbox every Monday. You can subscribe to that by clicking on the link tree in our social media bios. Tune in to another Do It Live tomorrow after the U.S. Women's National Team game on our YouTube channel. Then I will see you back here for Good Vibes on Thursday. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm Sam Mewis, and this is the Women's Game. We'll see you soon.